big. It's big. We're going to enjoy it. It's another day in our history. It's another day in our journey together as a team, and I hope it goes really well. We'll be working our absolute hardest that it goes well, but we're going to enjoy it and we're going to embrace it. And days like this, things can happen. It won't be straightforward, and I feel we're well prepared. But we come up against a strong, motivated, well prepared team as well. So I look forward to the challenge immensely, and it's another experience with this group of people.
You did it 2 years ago, but that was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So how good is it to be back at Wembley?
I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it's new, it's fresh. Some similarities with the trip down, etc. But it's a different field, it's a different arena, historical arena, and one I feel privileged for myself and the team to walk out at. So yeah, there'll be a lot of history and nostalgia around the game, but ultimately it's who can perform.
And what would it mean to do it again?
Yeah, I mean, the motivation for us is always the memories. A lot of people travelling down there who we care about, and to create moments, special moments for them to enjoy is amazing. And if you get the chance to do that, then no one can ever take those memories away from you. So, it's a trophy. It's a big day for the club, but attached to that is a lot of people we care about.
You'd hold all 4 trophies if you won. That'd be pretty special, wouldn't it?
It has a nice ring to it, but you don't get any of these trophies by talking about them. You've just got to work hard each day, and that's what we'll do. We've got important training week, and want to get our travel right, and hopefully if we do that, then the performance happens and people can say nice things about us afterwards. It's not something we put up as a massive goal. We never have. We want to play our best rugby for our friends and families and for our supporters and for our town.
Saturday, you've got a Challenge Cup final in your first season as coach. How good is that?
Yeah, it's great. We're it's the start of the year has gone well for us. We set that with a great pre-season, but it's the first sort of time of the year where we're going to play for something properly. First time we play for a trophy. Great occasion. It's a great week at Wembley. Hopefully, I think there's going to be a great crowd there. There's so many different things happening on there as well. Obviously, we're celebrating Rob Burrow and his achievements and service to the game and everything. But also, 3 of the games on that day is the Women's Challenge Cup. There's the men's. There's the schools final, and then there's the 1895. So it's going to be a great carnival of rugby league, and we're just thrilled that we're a part of that.
And how tough is it going to be against this Wigan side?
Yeah, well, they are the champions, the world champions. They won the Super League last year. I think they won in 2022. Was the last time they won Challenge Cup. So they are the benchmark for every team. That's okay. We understand that. We know what they bring. They're a highly competitive team with some great players, some absolute X-factor players. So, it's going to be a big day, but we'll tackle it with the same ferocity we do every week. Get well prepared and try and get our best performance on the field.
How much are you looking forward to leading the team out at Wembley?
Yeah, well, it's different now. We're not a player, so you can't really influence the game in that respect. But it'd be a nice moment to soak up, and I'll enjoy that. The walk out onto the stadium. Hopefully it'll be like I said, it'll be a full stadium, and we can sort of feel that emotion in the ground and get a performance out there.
And what would it mean if you could win the Betfred Challenge Cup?
That'd be great. That'd be great. But we understand the challenge. There's a Wigan side on the other side of the dressing rooms that are equally as motivated. So we know the challenge. So when I lift it, then I'll start thinking about it. Then. So until then, I'm eyes on the job and trying to get the team ready for it.
But you must be quite pleased with things so far.
Yeah, as I said, I'm happy with them. We're definitely improving. I think our game's maturing as we step through the year. We're only in our infancy as a new team, a new structure and everything. So I think we're about 15 games in. So another 15 games. We're just going to continually get better and grow, learn about each other, find out what works well for us. So this weekend will be another chance for us to improve and on a bigger stage against a great side, and we'll really see where we are this weekend.
Game of the week show, that's what it's going to become. It cuts down on the work for me. All the analysis is going to be done, and we're going to chat about it, which we don't normally do, because normally it's just me doing the analysis, but it's the Challenge Cup final, so let's all do it together and have a bit of sport. Outstanding. And what we'll also do, because I think it was Dawn who put this in the chat a couple of weeks ago, as we go through the analysis, we will pick a combined Warrington and Wigan side. That'll be an interesting debate. Get in the chat, and we'll do it position by position. It's interesting. Are you going to do it on reputation, or are we going to do it on form this season? That is the ultimate question as we get into that. So we'll do that as part of it. So, like I say, this is going to become the game of the week. Dawn there doing a little bit of advertising for me. Sign up to Raw People WhatsApp group. One of the perks: fun, informative, and full of banter. Couldn't agree with you more. Dawn. Right, so as we will always do, let's give a little word to our sponsor, and then we'll start to build up to the game of the week, the Challenge Cup final.
His target. Here comes the wall.
Love that crunch.
Let me add a little bit of spice.
Wembley, where the Challenge Cup story reaches its crescendo.
There is a fairy tale to be written.
Just once a year, rivalries set aside. We come together as one. On this grand stage, every team stands equal. Beneath each club crest, heartbeats quicken. Favourites falter as underdogs rise.
Lachlan Lang is a Lee legend.
It's beyond expectation.
He's got the strength, he's got the speed. It's one of the great Wembley tries.
Desire makes the impossible possible.
Danny Houghton has made over 1,000 tackles this season.
Victory snatched from the jaws of defeat.
Liam Marshall, and he might just have won it.
Dreams become reality, and heroes become immortal.
That is one sensational try.
Upsets, ecstasy, glory. The men's and women's Betfred Challenge Cup finals, where only one thing is guaranteed. Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. Tradition, legacy, you name it. It's this Challenge Cup finally what makes the Northern Hemisphere sport a little bit more special. The Challenge Cup is this coming Saturday. And dare I say it, gentlemen, with what has happened in the last 48 hours, has there been a surge, a rush for tickets? I mean, come on, rugby league community. You want to be there, not only because two Goliath sides are going to go head-to-head, but there's going to be a tribute like no other to Rob Burrow in that stadium. A minute's silence where I'm sure we're going to be able to hear a pin drop. The applause on 7 minutes. I'm sure there's going to be other things planned as well for the day. You want to be a part of this. You want to be a part of the family of rugby league supporters paying tribute to the great man himself, and also the added bonus of the games that are going to be on show. We're going to focus, of course, on the Challenge Cup final, the men's one, and of course the women's one is taking place, the 1895 Cup as well. We've seen in the chat that Freddie McGilvey has posted that Jermaine, of course, is playing. Yeah, we mustn't forget that for Wakey. He'll be in the 1895 Cup, and of course Wakey going to that. I think clear favourites as well. You've got the Saints game, the Saints Leeds game. Of course, always Saints Leeds, isn't it? Going head to head in the women's game, and of course Wigan against Warrington. It just couldn't be any bigger, chaps. First and foremost, we'll bring the thank yous to Rob to an end at this part of the show, because, like I say, it has been announced that there's a lot planned to commemorate the legacy that is Rob Burrow at this game. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few surprises or two as well, maybe some dignitaries on the day as well. Perhaps not the Burrow family, but maybe some of the legends that played alongside Rob more than likely will be in attendance. Who knows, even Sir Kev might actually come and make an appearance at the final. That would be very well received, of course, but if he wasn't there, then of course that is fully understandable as well. I'll go to you, Steph, because Joel, I don't think you are going, unfortunately, but I know Steph is going. Are you going, Joel, on Saturday?
I'm not now because of other outside factors.
We won't go. We won't go there. But in terms of Steph, you are. And I think if you wasn't going, Steph, knowing you, I think you'd have probably got a last-ditch ticket because you'd have wanted to have been there for what is going to be a very emotional occasion.
100%. I'd agree in going. I think it's just going to be such a special occasion. I think the timing of Rob's passing, if there was going to be a time, I think this is the perfect time because we're going to come together as a rugby league community in a 90,000 seater stadium and show the world what he meant to everybody. So from that respect, you know, I think it's perfect that we get to celebrate his life together as a rugby league family. And yeah, I watched that thing that gave me goosebumps. Obviously, with Lee's history last year, we're still the holders for 4 more days, so I can cling on to that one. But no, I'll be in Manchester Airport on Friday morning, flying down, and I'm fully looking forward to what's going to be a great weekend with my mates, and hopefully getting to see some Super League Raw members there as well. And please come and say hello and get pictures with us, and let's get it all over our community. What a sport we are.
Spot on. I mean, obviously, people will want to be in the stadium for a reasonable time because of what's going to be going on with Rob Burrow. So I think the plan will be at the Rugby League statue no later than 1 o'clock. Between quarter to 1 and 1 o'clock, we'll start to arrive. Come and join us at the statue. We want as many people who watch the show to just come as a community before we go into the stadium to come have your photos. So I appreciate some of you might already be inside for the women's game. But for those of you who are coming a bit later, then, you know, yeah, come and join us at the statue. Come and have your photo talk. Let's have a little bit of a chat, a quick drink, and then we'll all go in and enjoy some spectacular sport. Greg, you're going to be able to hear, I mean, rugby league fans do a bye with me better than anybody else. They do memorials better than anything else. This is going to be an electric atmosphere in what is a solemn, it will be quite solemn, but I think the atmosphere will just be electric, mate. I really do.
And I really hope that we have a minute's silence and not a minute's applause, because...
No, it's a silence.
Good.
It's going to be an applause on 7 minutes. So 7 minutes into the game, there'll be an applause. But it's going to be a silence before. I'm glad, because that stadium, rugby league fans will show the world how classy we are. Spot on. That minute's silence. That we'll you know, we are better than any other sport when it comes to respecting each other and to appreciating what those players go through on the pitch and what it means to us. So yeah, a minute's silence is appropriate, I think, definitely. I'm just sorry I won't be there at 1 because, as you probably know, my youngest, her club will be flag bearing before the women's game and the men's game. So we'll be there. We'll be in the ground for about 11 o'clock. So I'm sorry I'll be missing you at the statue beforehand, but I'm sure if you've got some good zooms on your iPhones, you'll be able to get a picture of me either celebrating at the end or crying at the end. Absolutely. And look, let's just we always say this. Let's hope we believe the winner. These two teams, I mean, Steph has said it, I think, at this moment in time, I know Saints are top, but it's as good a final as we could have hoped for. These two teams are playing some great rugby league. Let's hope it's a close one. Let's hope it's a real spectacle. Let's hope. I don't want a close one. I want to be 60. No. I just want this to be a great game, a really, really great game. Golden point. I know, obviously, it's obvious who want to win, but I want it to be a really, really good game, and let rugby league be the winner is what I would say. Peter Mason, of course, can't get over from Belarus, but he's going to be shedding a tear at 3:07. I'm sure that the minute silence will also be impeccably held in his household in Belarus. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever. Right, okay, boys, like I said, we're going to get into some detail now as a collective Super League Raw community. We're going to have a little bit of fun, starting with, well, where are we going to start? Let's start first and foremost the head-to-head between these two teams. And, you know, this is interesting. This was updated from last week. 45-26 now in favour of the Wigan Warriors since 1996, the birth of Super League. The last 5 have all gone the way of the Wigan Warriors. That's interesting. As you can see, the form, Wigan come in with 5 wins, Warrington 4 wins, and that loss at the weekend. It's second against 4. Look at the points for 2 sparkling attacks there. 357 plays 320. The Warrington defence has improved dramatically year on year. That has to be said, albeit Wigan have a stronger defence. Wigan rightly go into this game as favourites, Joe?
They do, but I'd say that is only on paper, and as we know, games are never won on paper. The attack and defence difference is so marginal that I think that almost negates each other, really, and I think this is going to be down to who's going to be the fittest for the longest, who's got that spark of brilliance, whose defence is grittiest enough, and who's going to make least errors. And that right there is going to be the biggest factor. Whoever makes the least errors will win the game. And this is two teams who pride themselves on not making a lot of errors. But of course, the occasion gets to you, so your professionalism comes into play. This is where everything matters, down to your preparation, the stuff that you eat before the day, on the day, not drinking anything for a week before. Absolutely, being laser focused. And if they're both zeroed in, it's going to be a great, great game. And I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely gutted I can't come.
Absolutely. Well, Andy Bibby there saying it's on for 75,000. Wouldn't that be absolutely fantastic? John Wilkinson in the chat saying he's happy that Warrington are the underdogs. Look what happened in 2019. And Peter Mason is saying French versus Williams. Who dares wins? There's more contests than that, Pete. We're going to get to him as part of this part of the show. Okay, let's take a look now at key numbers this season, the 2024 season, the pack meters. This might surprise some people. Warrington, 558 to 513. What I've done here is I've looked to see who I think will be in the starting lineup. So for Warrington, this is based on Harrison, Vaughan, Bullock, Musgrove, Nicholson, Fitzgibbon and Curry. I think those will be the pack members for Warrington. For Wigan, I've gone with Havard, Thompson, Mago, Cooper and Sember, Farrell and Ellis. That's what I've gone for with this. I could be right, I could be wrong, but that's what I've gone with. 558 to 513 a game, Warrington edge it. The busts, pretty much even, 9.9, 10.1, but Wigan a slightly better ratio there. The back meters, again, going the way of the Wolves, 627 to 547. The backs for Warrington, I've gone with Dufty, Fewlis, Ashton, King, and Ty. That's what I've gone with Warrington. For Wigan, I have included Marshall, but I do think there's going to be a late call on Marshall. He did not look well on Saturday. I hope for him that he is fit and well because nobody wants to see him miss the final. But I have gone with him because nothing has been announced where he's concerned. Field, Wardle, Miskey, Marshall, and Walters. I think Walters will probably deputise for Kieran in the centres. They haven't got much cover there. So the question is who you're going to put there. And I just think Walters could be that player that is the makeshift and he's put in there. He might go for youth, but I don't think so. Not on this stage. I don't see the likes of Eckersley getting in there, albeit he played well on Saturday. Am I right? Am I wrong? Get in the chat. But that is what I've based it on. You look at the tackle, the back bust, though, the tackle bust out the back line. Big advantage there to the Warriors, 32 points to 8. More breaks from Warrington. And then if you look at the tries, this is Super League only, 53 plays 61. And look at that at the bottom. Goals, no Kieran. Kieran has got the better of the kicking ratios for Wigan this season. But Harry Smith has improved. Both him and Josh Fewlis are converting at 78% this season. How vitally important goal kicking is. Looking at those stats, Steph, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it, when you see those side by side. I think the back meter stands out for me. It's probably one you're going to come to in terms of the battle of the fullbacks on this one. But Dufty must be a huge part in those back meters.
We will come to that, my friend. We will come to that. Greg, what are your thoughts on it?
It's a close one. And Wigan, Wigan have a game less, which has to be taken into account.
No, it doesn't. And Andy Bibby's gone there as well. This is an average per game. So this is how much work I've done. For every player, I've divided it by the games played. So this is based on games played. So this is an absolute side-by-side analytic. So
okay.
This is why Super League Raw, ladies and gentlemen, is the premier online community, because we do analysis like nobody else. Andy, you're spot on. Go and watch somebody else. They will not take into account that, but we do. There you go. So anyway, back to you, Greg.
Well, I knew that. I just gave you the chance to to reinforce that point, Dave. I think Eckersley will play. I think Ecclesley will play in the centres. I really do. I think Dawn's put Farrell in the centres. I don't think Farrell's 2-3 years ago. I would put Farrell in the centre. Now I don't think so. I think Farrell has lost that yard of pace. So I think Eckersley will play. I think Walters may well. I don't know. He may well be in the second row with Nsemba. I don't know. I mean, the decisions are there to be made for Wigan. They've lost 2 key players, despite what Wigan fans are saying, that they've got strength and depth. Yeah. There's a choice to be made. And from what I've heard, Marshall is touch and go.
Yeah.
Marshall is very, very much. I mean, that was the biggest mistake Wigan made on Saturday in not taking him off straight away. Because every time there's a breakdown in play, he was looking uncomfortable in that second half. So yeah, it is. It's a close call. I can't remember. Was it Steph or Joe was talking about Dufty?
Well, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Let's just hold horses. So this is just the beginning, gentlemen. This is just the beginning. Let's get into some of our members. Dawn Kirby, of course, remember. Hello, Dawn. She'll be there for the quiz on the 17th. But she's got a double G&T bet on with Warrington. Oh, the last of the big spenders is our Dawn. Is there. Happy days. Daniel, he's in the chat. Don't get me wrong, Warrington have been a different side since Sam has been coach, but I still think Wigan are too strong. And you know what? I think Wigan are favourites, and I admit that. I think Warrington have to be very, very good indeed to win this game. In terms of Fraser Howard, Dufty might show that he's overtaken Field. Well, we're going to get to that conversation in a moment. But yeah, lots of great chat. We're not getting into the predictions yet. There's a bit of analysis to be done before we get that. But Fraser Howard has gone back in again and said, Walter's not had enough game time for me. He might be the weak link in the second half. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Right, we said before we did the little note to our sponsors that as we go through the positions in a minute, we will try and pick a combined team. But before we do, it'd be wrong of us not to take a look at a head-to-head in the Challenge Cup between these two. And this is it. And it's a bit closer than you actually think. Wigan 13, Warrington 10. That's basically how it goes. There's the last 5 that you can see. This is in all. So this is, quarterfinals, semi-finals, you name it. And what I've done is I've listed some there. So as you can see, these have come up against each other quite a lot in the recent past. In the quarterfinal of 2023, Wigan beat Warrington 14-12 at the DW Stadium. 2019 at the Halliwell, round 6, Warrington 26, Wigan 24. I mean, what you'd give for some of these margins on Saturday, a real tussle. You neutrals out there. 2018 quarterfinal at the Halliwell, a blowout to the Warrington Wolves, 23-0. That is the only one that is that in the recent past has been a blowout because, the year before at the Halliwell Jones, Wigan beat Warrington 27-26 in another epic encounter between these two. And of course, who can forget the last time these two played in a final back in 1990 when Wigan beat the Wire there. Interesting, actually, that the games that Wigan beat Warrington in the recent past, George Williams and Sam Powell pretty much played in all of those, and Joe Bullock was a part of the Wigan squad in 2019 as well. Joel, are you surprised how close in history these two are on the big stage?
Very much so, because Wigan's always known to be the ones that have been the favourites for this cup. So that makes for very interesting reading, and it doesn't make you think that Wigan are necessarily going to be the favourites for the weekend, because that's only been based off this short period of the year that we've had. But when you're looking into history, that usually does play a part, because it's what players do think about, and it's the history of the Challenge Cup. So it's interesting for that 2018 where there was a major difference there. So it's going to be very, very, very close indeed.
That was just a freak performance on both sides, I would say. I mean, we always say on Super League Raw, if there's a scoreline like that, 23-0, one team was on and the other team was far off, and that's what happened that day. Steph, from your perspective, you're going to be at the final this Saturday, 14-12, 26-24, 26-27. What you would give as a neutral for a game that is as epic as that on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it was awful last year, to be honest with you. I'd rather it had been, like Reggie said, a blowout. But no, as I'm going into a neutral on this one, I'm hoping of more of the same, please. But I can't remember the last time there was a big blowout in a final. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? They've all been quite...
Leeds, wasn't it?
Leeds and London, was it?
Leeds
Hull KR.
Yeah. Leeds Hull KR when Briscoe scored 5, was it?
Yeah, Bristol.
KR beat Warrington in the semi.
Right, but I don't think there's any chance of that this weekend. I think it's going to be a very close game, and like I said, the closer the better for me. I'm just hoping it's a great game of rugby league.
And Greg, final one on that last graphic for you. Heartbreak of 1990. It's for me one of the most enduring memories of for being a Warrington fan was the Mike Gregory try that day. For Mike to have had that opportunity in the Primrose and Blue to score at Wembley, it meant a lot to him. Heartbreak for Warrington that day. There'll be a lot of Warrington fans who were there in 1990 in the stadium on Saturday. Yeah, I was too. Redemption, all the rest of it. There is that bit of a narrative as well, isn't there? The 1990.
There is. I think our Wigan friends will correct me on this, but I think the last final we beat Wigan in was the Lancashire Cup final in 1980.
Knowledge, sir.
We've beat them in semi-finals, in quarter-finals. I can't remember the last time they've beat us in Premiership finals, in Regal Trophy finals, in Challenge Cup finals. This is the chance to put all that history to bed. 44 years of heartbreaking finals against Wigan. It's going to be an awful but a brilliant afternoon.
Do you know, Paul's asking there in the chat, Greg, do you know who's in the schools champions game?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
I think the lead team's there again. I think the Bedford team who were there last year, I think they've got there again.
I think what I would say on that is they used to always have that schools game just before the actual final. And I think they put it really early in the day now, which I think is a real shame.
What they did last year with that was an absolute disgrace. It was behind closed doors, and the parents had to leave after the game and then buy a ticket to go into the actual game. It was absolutely scandalous.
That's not rugby league, is it?
No.
That's just not rugby league. But anyway, we're gonna let's not bring the mood down, because this is all about celebrating what should be an absolutely barnstorming game this coming Saturday. Right, let's get to it. Let's get to the battle of the fullbacks. Here it is. Oh yes, Matt Duffy and Mr. Field. Duffy's played 12 this season. Field has played 10. There is a difference in the tries, but it's fair to say, even with those two games different, Duffy outscoring Mr. Field this year. The assists a lot closer. The breaks 14-4, busts 87-46, and look at the meters. So even taking into account the 2 game different on every conceivable stat, Matt Duffy edges the fullback battle on paper. If we were picking a combined team on current form, Steph, does Matt Duffy get number 1?
For me, he does at the moment on form. Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
He has to. Before this graphic came up, I think it was clear that Duffy's been the better fullback this year by a long shot, if I'm being honest, yeah.
And the concern there, Greg, is that, let's be fair, Field has not been in his sparkling form, and that's a problem for Warrington, because he's that good a player. He could wait until Saturday to come to life.
It only takes one piece of magic from Jay Field. On Saturday. My only worry with Duffy is the high ball, and that's my only concern, because I think he'll get peppered early doors. If I'm Sam Burgess, if Wigan are within with a chance of kicking high or into our 20 or 10, I'd probably swap Duffy and Thewlis and get Thewlis at fullback for those high kicks and swap them round. That's my only concern with Duffy. Everything else, he's been the better player this season.
Well, it's closer there as well than you think it probably is, because Duffy has made 15 errors in 13 appearances in Super League. Sorry, not 13 appearances. He's been in 11 of them, and Jai Field has made 9. So there's not an awful lot of difference. Field is also susceptible to a high ball as well. And I keep coming back to this now. I mean, watch Duffy now. I'll have a mare on Saturday. But there's always been this narrative around Duffy and errors. And actually...
That narrative will form part of Wigan's team plan.
Of course it will. But every other team plan as well. And in fairness to Dufty, like I say, for whatever reason this sticks with him, but he's no better and no worse in that area than the vast majority of fullbacks in Super League. But for some unbeknown reason, maybe because he's not as fashionable as the Fields and the Wellesbys and the likes, this gets thrown at him. But
the other side to it, though, as well, is that kind of comes with territory without any fullback. But Dufty's so good that just, to me, shows that the team has that much trust in him that he can handle it. So maybe he's not getting as much support because he doesn't need the support, same as like some other players might do, because he's so good under the ball. So a few extra errors for me don't really count for much because, you know, errors come with fullbacks positions anyway. That's just part and parcel of the role.
You're right. But in a big game, that's the difference.
Oh, Dawn. Who said Wellesby's fashionable? Dawn, Jack will be crying. If you're going to say something like that, send him some Kleenex before you do. Deary me.
Dave, she's right, because Sam Tompkins said he's the best fullback in Super League. So he must be.
Well, maybe.
Must be true.
So get in the chat. Combined team, Warrington and Wigan. Who's your fullback based on? And put in there. Are you basing it on emotion, on who you think is the better player per se, or are you basing it on form? Steph, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, the schools final, which is very, very important, is Oral St Peter's against Cardiff, Jos Golgai, Fun Grey, Meg Glantaf.
Excellent. Fantastic.
I'll have 3.
And you know what? Let's hope that all do the business because, you know, let's stay. We are based in the northwest of England.
So do I, because the fella who engraves the name of the trophy, they'll have to buy a new trophy next week.
Anyway, right. So there you go. In the chat, who would you pick, Dufty or Field? As we now go into the wingers. Let's go on to the wing. Here we go. And, big difference here. The tries this season, 31-20 in all comps between Fewlis Ashton, Miskey and Marshall. Like I say, big question mark over Marshall. Marshall not there. It makes a dramatic difference to these stats because 19 of those 31 tries this season have been scored by Liam Marshall. That is how big Marshall is. 32 tackle busts this season, 13 clean breaks as well from Marshall. That is how big a player he has been for Wigan. In terms of assists, 4 against 3 in all comps. The breaks per game, 2, 1.9, no difference. Busts, no difference. Carries, pretty much similar. The Wigan 2, a little bit better in terms of average meters per game, 249 plays 218. And I am delighted, absolutely delighted for Abbas Miskey because we mustn't forget in 2022 against Huddersfield, Abbas Miskey was 18th man. He will surely be playing on Saturday. Talk about a man who's had to do it tough. He's now got his rewards. He's going to be playing at Wembley this coming Saturday, barring, God forbid, an injury. But yeah, Abbas Miskey, fully deserving. It's been wonderful to see his rise in Super League, and he gets to play the Warrington Wolves this week. Right, Joel, come to you first. The battle of the wingers. It's advantage Wigan, isn't it? Looking at this graphic.
Yeah, if I was going to pick a 2, Miskey would be my number 2 anyway. I think so. That goes there. The biggest thing here is when you look at the tries, that 31-20, if Marshall's out, that dramatically changes that graphic.
It does indeed. That's how big Marshall is.
So Marshall is Mr. Challenge Cup. I think we can all agree on that. And if Marshall plays, then you're going to be in a bit of trouble with your backs. But if he isn't playing, then it really is game on. And I think you've got the advantage there because there's nobody in that squad, unfortunately, who can take Marshall's place with the same impact that Marshall has.
No, completely agree. And that is why it's so important that for Wigan that Marshall plays. And Steph, based on those stats, based on the fact that 19 of those tries have come from Liam Marshall, and of course the busts and everything, it really is heavily weighted Marshall over Miskey this season. Last season it was pretty 50-50. Marshall this year in better form. Does Matt Peake dare risk Marshall if he's not 100%?
Potentially. If he's still, can make a contribution, I think he will do. It'll be very interesting to see, but I mean it's a real tough one this because I think all 4 players on here are absolutely exceptional players who've Super League over the past couple of seasons, haven't they? So, is the rule we have to take both players from the same team?
No, you can. It's a complete shit. You know, you pick whoever you want. I mean, obviously, in terms of Fewless, he's had some wild games. He really has. I mean, he was our player of the month in May because, of course, he was the game breaker in all three. Statistically, actually, you know, he's having a better season than Ashton. He's played one more game. He scored 2 more tries. He's tackle buster through the roof versus Ashton, and he's got 1 more clean break. So, you know, of the two in terms of form, Fewless this season is in better form. But as we saw in the Challenge Cup quarter final against St Helens, Ashton can score tries out of nothing.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's so difficult. And I think if I was having to pick, you know, two for a final, then I would go with Ashton and Marshall.
Ashton and Marshall, you go. Greg, again, talk your way around the graphic, mate. And then who would you pick as your 2 wingers in a combined team?
Well, this is a difficult one because you say about Marshall and you say about Fewless. Fewless creates tries for himself, whereas Marshall is a finisher. And that's the difference between Fewless and Marshall. Marshall is usually on the end of a great move, whereas Fewless, the last couple of seasons, has grafted tries for himself. And it's a difficult one because Ashton's a finisher as well. And Miski, the two Wigan wingers are finishers. It's very, very rare that they will craft a try for themselves, unlike French and Field, who can kind of burst from anywhere and score a try. Miski and Marshall are the ones that are usually on the end of a great pass or a great kick, and that's why this one's so difficult. I'll go for Ashton, and I would just, because of his goal kicking and Primrose and blue glasses on, I would just go for Fewless because of his goal kicking. And you'll see why when we go for the halfbacks.
Right.
Dave, if you're doing combined though, would you be able to pick Ashton and Marshall together? Of
course you can.
Because they're both 5s, aren't they?
It's combined, yeah. So you can pick
them. Okay. Right.
So who are you having, Joe?
Well, based off that, it'd be Ashton and Marshall.
Right.
But I didn't, because otherwise it'd be straight Miski and Marshall. 2 and 5 if it was the other way.
Well, I mean, what the graphic shows is that if you're going on form, it's Marshall and Fewless. If you're going on form, those two, in terms of this season's form, are in the better form for their respective clubs and in that 4.
I'm getting some pelters now,
and you will, and you know what? You probably deserve them. Is what I would say.
We'll see.
But I think, you know, for me, if I had a pick of those 4 wingers, if I was playing, you know, Rugby League manager, I'd probably go Ashton and Marshall, if I'm being honest. And I think that what that graphic shows is the importance of Marshall. And I think the fact that he did take a knock, there's no doubt he had a big... I do not understand why he was left on the field. It baffled me on the day. We were watching him. He was hobbling. The physio he was like a wasp. The physio didn't go anywhere. He was just hovering around him, and they just didn't make
an empty pint.
But they just didn't make a decision on him. And you know, I just hope it doesn't come and bite him. And Liam Marshall, I can only think that Marshall was told to stay on because Liam Marshall, surely, if he's feeling something in the Challenge Cups on Saturday, surely he's got to ask to come off. I mean, the whole thing was bizarre.
Craig has said there, Marshall is one of the hardest working players in Rugby League. I agree. But you know what? So's Josh Thewlis. The amount of runs Josh Thewlis, I can't even say his name now. Josh Thewlis takes, you know, first, second tackles. Josh Thewlis works hard as well, and I'm getting some pelters, but I'm going to stand by it. You stand by it.
You stand by it. Right, Dawn, in on the chat. King and Wardle for centres before the graphic even comes up. You're absolutely right. These two, for me, pick themselves. It's the partnership from last year. What I would say on this is I've gone Walters. You know, I'm sorry, but that's what I've gone. I could be wrong. Like I say, I'm not saying I'm right, but I just think they might put Walters in there. And Roderick Ty. Now, of course, Roderick Ty and Walters, Ty's only played 5 games. Walters only played a couple back. So these stats are solely pretty much the King-Wardle effect. That's where it's at. It is combined, but you look at it, the majority of these stats or the contributions to these stats have come from King and they have come from Wardle. You can see there 5 tries to 2 in the favour of Warrington. King and Wardle, incidentally, have both played 11 games. 2 assists, play 7. 5 breaks, play 7. 43 busts to 22. That's a surprising one. 43 tackle busts to 22 in the favour of the Warrington backline. 173 carries to 100. More work being done from the Warrington centres here. And then in the metres made, more for Warrington. So advantage wingers. I think the wingers are having a better season in terms of finishing, etc. But in the centres, thus far, is this where Warrington bounce back, Greg? Have they got a better centre combination with Kieran now going to be missing no matter who they put in there, Wigan?
You know what? I think so. Although Roderick Ty didn't have the best game on Saturday, neither did Connor Wrench. But I think if Wigan still had King and Wardle, that would have been a massive advantage to Wigan. And this is where I think Warrington just edge with Duffy. Warrington edge, Wigan in the backs. We can argue all day about the wingers and we all have our opinions, but I think this is with Duffy in the 2 centres, Warrington are just edging it in the backs.
Well, Andy B saying that Sean Wayne once said you never waste an interchange on a back. We'll be coming to the forward line in a bit. Andy, you just stick around, recharge your glass, sir. We'll be there in a moment. Craig Rigby said that he's got it on good authority that Liam Marshall will be fit for the final, fingers crossed. I hope you're right for Mr. Marshall. However, will he be fully fit, Craig? That is a big, big question. But yeah, and Dawn's right. They could put Eckersley. Greg, you said that they could put.
I'm with Dawn. I think they'll play Eckersley. I think he showed enough on.
He had a reasonable game. Yeah, he did. He had a decent game, didn't he?
I think Eckersley will play.
Joel, where are you seeing it? I mean, like I say, pretty tight this one, but is this a little bit of an advantage for Warrington?
I think it will be with Kieran in anyway, to be honest with you, because the best centre out there for Wigan is Wardle. So I think it's a shame with Roderick Ty because he's not had the amount of games that the other players have had, and I'm not talking about Walters here. With more games under his belt and a bit more time with the team, the squad, Ty could be the good partnership with King. But for me, it's going to be King Wardle. I think that has to be that's
your combo. That's your combined.
That's the combined. But I think when you look at Warrington and Wigan there, even with Kieran in, I'd have probably still gone with Warrington's centres partnership because I think there's just a bit more flair in there.
Fair enough. And Steph, I mean, Roderick Ty played 5 games. Defensively, he has been pretty decent. I mean, the guy's got one hell of a hit on him, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, for a final, that's massive. And that's probably why I would probably pick Warrington centres for the defence. I think if they play Walters there, then when we go back to the winger conversation, obviously your centres, either by a dummy run or a pass, feed your wingers, don't they? So if Walters is in the centres for Wigan, I think that could be very disruptive for them in their back line. Obviously, King and Wardle are your 2 picks in this one if you're picking a combined, but I do fancy slightly the Warrington lads.
Yes, well, Pete Mason here is already rushing forward. He's saying Bev and Harry, no question for the halfbacks. I think we're going to have a bit of a debate about that, though, if you permit us. Or else, what's the point in doing a show, Pete? Right, okay, let's get into the halfbacks. Here they come. Drinkwater and Williams up against French and Smith. The tries go the way of Wigan, 11-7. Assists also 14-7 in there. The breaks, the busts, the carries go the Warrington way. More running from the Warrington side. I mean, again, just need to put a little bit of a caveat in here, in the fact that there's a massive difference. Harry Smith is and this is where Smith is incredibly dangerous. And I could understand people going for a combination of Smith and French for the flair, Smith for the game management. And Josh Drinkwater has got. If he can replicate what he did on Saturday, that's going to go a long way for Warrington Wolves in terms of game management. We know that Harry Smith in a big game can manage a game, and that could be quite critical. You talk about game breakers. Harry Smith could easily walk away with Lance Todd due to controlling the game. I thought Harry Smith was very unlucky in the grand final not to get the Harry Sunderland, quite frankly. I thought he did more than Wardle, quite frankly, in that game. But the bottom line is here, Williams, the Warrington side of those stats, Williams has played 9 games this season. The 2 on the Wigan side have played 11. And in those 9 games, 6 of those 7 tries are Williams. 3 of those assists are Williams. He's had 25 tackle busts in those 9 games. And he's cleared the line on 4 occasions. Williams is in great form. For me, the problem here is if you just wanted to be the Harlem Globetrotters, you'd probably pick Williams and French, and they'd have a field day, quite frankly, with a big pack in front of him. But I think if you were going to pick a combination, as a Warrington supporter, they've been there, done it, and got the T-shirt, the Smith and French combination in big games. We've seen it in the Grand Final. We've seen it in the World Club Challenge. Edge it, Greg, would you say?
I do think French and Smith. Bevan French has got that magical quality that can turn a game in a second. Harry Smith has improved beyond expectation over the last 3 or 4 years. Still, his conversions need to be worked on, I think. But yeah, I think in this case, although Williams, after a slow start, has really started to show what a player he is, and Drinkwater has. I think he's had the kick up the backside he needed from Leon Hayes. I do think that French and Smith just edge it here.
Well, Drinkwater.
That did hurt. Yes, that did hurt.
Drinkwater, big column in Rugby League Express, where Drinkwater talks about the importance of the Challenge Cup and obviously getting into his Aussie mates at Warrington in terms of what it's all about and you know the history of it. He's well up for it. It's got to be said. USA Rugby League, friends of ours, of course, saying that one of their friends is coming over for the final. Tell them to get under the Rugby League statue at 1:00. Tell them to come and say hello to the Super League Raw community. We'd love to see them there. Hopefully quite a few of you are going to do that and come and meet us, like I say, under the Rugby League statue at 1 on Saturday. Just a quick half an hour, no more. Just a quick chat, quick hello, little few photos, and then we'll go in and enjoy the game. Joel, same question really. Hard to look past French and Smith. Joel. Steph.
Bueller.
I think Joel's froze. Go on, Steph, on to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for position, you know, Smith takes it over Drinkwater, and obviously French. You can't not have French in, can you? But I think you're right in your Harlem Globetrotters analogy. You know, you'd have Williams and French in all day, but rugby league isn't that. You need a controlling halfback and you need a flair player. And I think for me, that's just why I'd edge it to French and Smith for that combination. But George Williams has been outstanding this season, and he's not as far away from French as people may think.
Well, not on this year's form, absolutely not. Joel, You think you're back, Joel? Your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, it's the difference between the 2 sevens. Josh had a great game at the weekend, but he's not had a great enough season for me to put him over Smith. Harry's proven now that he can really control the game and stick to a game plan that he's got, and so that does tip it towards Wigan. But I think you have to go for both Bevan and George for your combine, because that is an incredible matchup.
Okay, so at the moment then, just to recap, it would appear that Duffy's fullback. On form, Marshall and Fulis on the wing. That's quite contentious, but on form, Marshall and Fulis will be wingers. In the middle of centres, we're going King Wardle combined in there. So it's 50-50 at the minute, but the halves have now tipped it in the favour of the Wigan Warriors with a Smith-French combination, which, I think, I tell you what, it's some team we're building here, guys. It's some team we're building here. Right, let's finish off the spine. Let's go up to the hookers before we look at the front row. O'Neill and Leeming, Walker and Powell. What I would say here is 2 very similar setups. You've got the Sam Powell, O'Neill, the gritty, tackling machines, organisers, good in those early stages. And then you've got the Walker and the Leeming, who have got a bit more attacking their game. It's interesting that as well, just bring this to your attention, boys, just consider this as you're giving me your thoughts about this particular battle on the day. They both adopt a different strategy. So what we see at Warrington is that they tend to go with a Walker start, and then a Powell comes on later just to calm the ship, whereas Wigan, O'Neill tends to start, who is more, like I say, that little in and around, a bit more tackly, not taking as much risks, just bedding his side in. And then 20, 25 minutes, and we saw this on Saturday at the Halliwell Jones, on comes Leeming, normally with Dupree and Mago, obviously no Dupree this week, but it will be Mago and a other that comes on. And then Leeming just creates havoc when, the front line of the opposition have tired. And it's really interesting that there's those two parallels here between how they actually approach the game. One advantage that Walker's got is he's got a 40-20 in him. We've seen that. I think of all of these hookers, Danny Walker has shown time and time again at the base of the scrum that, he can put Warrington on the front foot from a 40-20, perhaps more so. Leeming's got that in his game, but doesn't execute it as often or with as much accuracy as Danny Walker tends to do. 3 tries to 5, 4 assists to 3, breaks very even, busts, 1 bust difference per game, carries pretty even as well. And the meters, again, pretty even really as hookers go. Very, very interesting this in the middle. Like I say, very contrasting. We'd expect, if the tail of the tape's anything to go by, a Walker, O'Neill start, and then Powell and Leeming coming on. Vital position, vital performances needed. Joel, your thoughts on this?
I'm glad you mentioned that about the approach they use for nines, because to me, I think it's far better to have a settled 9, if you call it a settled 9, to just steady the squad into the game, and then once they know where they're at and they've figured everyone out, then you bring on your flair players that make it harder for the opposition. Because if you send on a player who's got flair at the beginning, everyone's fit enough to look after him or take care of him. But then when everyone's tired towards the end of the game and you put on somebody who wants to play some quirky rugby, it's much harder to deal with. So I think that's why Wigan probably tip it for me on that, and that's probably the better way to do it. But of course, I'm not a coach, but that's where I'd be going for that.
Of all of those hookers in a 1 to 13 combined team, which one do you pick to start?
I think that's a bit Walker for me.
Fair enough. Steph, your thoughts on the hooking battle?
Yeah, it's quite an easy one for me, this one. I would have Walker and O'Neill. I think they complement each other really well. I would start O'Neill just from a steady in the game. Defensively, I think he's been absolutely outstanding for such a young player. And Walker's probably one of the most exciting hookers in the game for me, and has got the defensive attributes as well. I think those two are just a level above the other two players, but they're all great players. Leeming's a good player, and he brings a great attacking dimension to the game when he comes on, and Powell's solid for Warrington. So, but I would definitely go with a mixed bag on this one and go for Walker and O'Neill.
Fair enough. Same question, Greg.
Yeah, it's a tough one. This Cruz Leeming, when he comes off the bench, is electric. As somebody said in the tackle, I think it was Dawn, that Brad is a tackling machine. He's a steady Eddie. He doesn't do a lot. He doesn't do a lot of spectacular things, but he controls it in the middle, a bit like Sam Powell. Whenever Sam Powell's come on, and I think what. I think Sam Powell has made a massive difference to us this season in the fact that he can come on late in the game and he calms it down and he controls it. For me, starting hooker is Danny Walker because he's of his electric pace. That's who I start with bringing. It's a difficult one. I don't know which hooker I'd have on the bench. I'd have all three of them on, to be honest. But yeah, starting hooker is Danny Walker for me.
Okay. And I think what I would say to you all, I think that this is a massive position this weekend. I think that the hooking position, the rotation of these players is going to be very, very interesting indeed. And for the likes of certainly Brad O'Neill and Danny Walker, this could be one of those games that define their young careers, that put them on the map. Because it's second only to the grand final in this country, and the world is watching. So we wish those two young players, because I think we'd all agree these two lads. O'Neill up for Young Player of the Year last year. Danny Walker has had a tremendous rise over the last 2 or 3 seasons. We wish Walker and O'Neill the very best for Saturday. Right, okay, we now go into the forward positions. Harrison Vaughan, Thompson, Cooper. Now that'll surprise many, but I'm going Mike Cooper, and I'll tell you why. That's what he did in the World Club Championship. If he did it in the World Club Championship, I think he'll do it again in the Challenge Cup. And I think because we've seen the pre-band, I think that now even more so will put Cooper in from the start. I could be wrong, but I think he's going to go with Cooper and Thompson. This is how these line up. 4 tries to 1, 3.4 tackle bust go the way of Warrington to 2.1 the other way. Look at the tackles. More tackles from the Warrington 2. More offloads from Warrington. Carries 26 to 20, meters edged by Warrington. Vaughan and Harrison averaging 211 this season. Like I say, don't worry about games played. This is on a game-by-game basis when they play. They average 211 combined per game. Thompson and Cooper, 152. So, yeah, really, really interesting this. I mean, 4 really good quality props. Harrison has been a revelation, Greg, in the last 2 seasons for Warrington. Delighted in the same, we just said about O'Neill and Walker, delighted that Jimmy Harrison is going to be playing at Wembley this Saturday, fully deserving. He's again a lad who's had to work up from the lower echelons of Rugby League to get his chance at the Warrington Wolves. Now he's in a Challenge Cup final. Credit to him. On the right-hand side, been there, done it, got the T-shirt, as has Mr. Paul Vaughan. It's going to be an interesting battle, this one, Greg. Who are you going with here?
Oh, I'm going with Vaughan and Harrison all day long. And I'm going to say that I think Matty Pete will go with Jed Byrne instead of Cooper.
Well, I mean, in terms of Byrne, he's been missing, hasn't he? I think he's injured.
I'll go with Jed Byrne. I don't think Cooper
Liam Byrne.
Squad.
Liam Byrne has not been in the... I was looking at Byrne, but he's not been in the Wigan squad for a couple of weeks. I don't think Byrne's fit. I don't think he's coming to the Champions League.
If he's not fit, then Cooper plays. If he is fit, there's others ahead of Cooper.
Yeah, but Cooper started the World Club Championship.
Yeah, he did, but that was beginning of the season when he was a lot fitter than he is now. He's been out for a while.
Well, Dawn Baker's saying that Byrne is a no.
Oh, well, fair enough. Then if it is Cooper, and I'm getting a red card from Peter Mason, surely a yellow first, mate. Come on. Vaughan and Harrison all day long. Thompson is a great player. If they had somebody alongside Thompson of that stature, then Wigan would be in business here. But I think Vaughan and Harrison, the way those two have been playing all season, is that they're the 2 props for me, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, Dawn Kirby's gone in. Of course, OKR fan. She's gone Vaughan and Harrison. Defence against Cats was immense. Defended set after set on the line. Interesting in terms of tackles. All of these players have played 11 games bar Cooper. And Thompson is out-tackled. He's 303. Vaughan is 260. And Harrison is 287. Steph, your thoughts on the props?
Yeah, I completely agree in terms of Harrison. I think he's been absolutely outstanding this year. But I would have Vaughan for his carries and Thompson for his defence. And I would have Harrison on the bench on this one. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go straight down the middle and split them and go Vaughan and Thompson.
Joel, who do you think is going to get the better of this forward battle on Saturday?
Well, it depends. Obviously, I think we're talking about starting props here. We've obviously got a bench for the others, but if you're going to put Cooper on there, I'm surprised. I'd have maybe put Mago on starting. Just to try and edge forward from the beginning. But yeah, if you're going to look at that, which you'd understand that'd be a steady forwards. For me, I'd be looking at Vaughan and Harrison. I think they've probably just got the slightly better combination there. But for a combined, it'd be Vaughan and Thompson all day long.
4 tries, Jimmy Harrison this season for the Warrington Wolves. And as Andy Bibby said there, whoever comes out on top in the middle units, well, so it's the old saying, isn't it? That forwards win
games.
By how many? Right, let's get into the back rowers then. This is interesting. Fitzgibbon, Nicholson and Curry will be going up against Farrell and Sember and Ellis. I think this is an absolute, no doubt about it. This is who the back lines are going to be. Tries 5-3 in the favour of the Wigan Warriors. Assists 6-2 in the favour of the Warrington Wolves. Busts absolutely neck and neck. Breaks 0.3 and 0.6, tackles more from the Warrington Wolves, and then finally the meters more from the Warrington Wolves. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This is a quality-looking back row line on both sides of the field. 2 NRL prospects in the middle there, Nicholson and then Sember. Curry is a man reborn. Fitzgibbon and Farrell, Rolls Royces of Super League, second rowers in Super League. There's no doubt about that. Steph, this is an intriguing backline battle, isn't it? I mean, no wonder you're shutting your eyes. I mean, you could have going there, couldn't you? This, for me, some real quality on that screen, isn't there?
Oh, this is... You can't see what I was doing then, but I was putting blood in my hands. This is the hardest one for me by a long way. This is, quality all over. And form as well. It's not just quality, it's not reputation, it's players playing really well. I'd have to go with this one, Fitzgibbon, Sember and Curry.
Well, there you go. You heard it from Mr. Sale. The Warrington edge it 2-1. And of course, when we're considering Farrell not getting in a combined team, I mean, dearie me. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we go back 2 or 3 years, then maybe he just walks into it without even worrying about Steve Cartledge. He's actually put Farrell in his. He's gone Farrell, Fitzgibbon and Sember. Good evening to Steve, a Super League board member.
Who's playing 13 there?
Well, good players.
Probably
in Sember. But I'll tell you what then, Joel. As you know, mate, I do the groundwork, right? Is what I'm about to say a game breaker at Wembley? So what you're looking at there on screen are 6 quality rugby league players. We're not going to have a bad word said about them. However, now we come into it. Get ready for this one, baby. Okay? Missed tackles. Lachlan Fitzgibbon has missed 22 tackles this season in 11 appearances. Ben Curry has missed 13 tackles in 10 appearances. Don't fall off your chair when I say that Matty Nicholson, in 9 appearances, has averaged 33 tackles a game and hasn't missed one. That is just frightening. There's analysis for you, gentlemen. Compare those stats to Wigan. Farrell, 17 missed tackles a game. And Sember, 18 missed tackles a game. Ellis, 11 missed tackles a game. More missed tackles by a country mile on the Wigan Warriors side. Could that be telling, Joel, at Wembley?
Well, the defence is going to be a massive part of the game, especially when it's knockout rugby and it's the final. It's a one-off game. There's no second chances here. It does make it much more interesting. Steph's so right. This is probably the toughest one to call out of all the positions. I'm going to have to put Ben Curry in there. I'm talking about the combined here. Ben Curry's got to be in there for me. He's just a great player. And Sember and Farrell. So they're me combined. But I think, for me, I'm going to stick my neck out. I think I'd say the Warrington back rowers here only just pip it for me. And that's only down to they've played together more than the other 3 at Wigan have, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Peter Mason's got it in for you tonight, Greg. What I will say, What I will say, Pete, is I've got no issue with that, but don't come for me, my friend. You state of tipping, my friend. You keep to the bookies. When it comes to Super League figures and stats, my friend, don't even go there. Don't even go there. Absolute 100% spot on there, my friend. Mr. Nixon, over to you. What are your thoughts on the back line?
Tough one. Really tough one. And the hay fever's kicking in. Let me see. I don't know. I mean, Curry has got to be at 13, hasn't he? Over Ellis. It's a tough one. Are you going to go for your Harlem Globetrotters of Fitzgibbon and Nsemba? Are you going to go for your steady Eddies of Nicholson and Farrell? And that's the choice, isn't it? God, it's a difficult one. Curry's loose forward. And I'm going to go... Oh, God. Nicholson and Nsemba.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, when I put this together, I was blown away by the fact that Nicholson hasn't missed a tackle. I mean, it's just frightening, absolutely frightening. And it's been said in the chat, no wonder he's going the NRL. I think Fraser Howard said that. Absolutely incredible. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, what I would say is I would pick Ellis. Ellis, for whatever reason, is being ignored this season. And on both sides of the ball, you know, when he was announced at number 13, nobody was more surprised than I at Wigan. But let me tell you now, he is doing a sterling job at 13 for Wigan. He's hardly getting any praise for it. He is doing really well. And, you know, as good as Curry has come on, in a game like this where you need experience, you need tackling, you need, 100 metres a game guaranteed, Ellis gives you that. He gives you that. And I would actually go Ellis. And you know what? Just because I think it's incredible what they've achieved in the young careers, I'm going to go Nicholson and Nsemba. I think, those two players at the moment, it's a privilege to go and watch them grow on a rugby league field. And let me tell you now, as we've proved time and time again, these two lads, the young kids, and they're battling it out with the big boys. They're absolutely, right up there with him. So for me, I'm going to go Nicholson and Nsemba and Cade Ellis in there as well. And then finally, I've had a little bit of a shot at who I think might be on the bench. For the Warrington Wolves, I think Musgrove, I think Bullock played himself into the bench on the weekend. I think Crowther will be back. We know Sam Burgess likes Geordie Crowther and Sam Powell. For Wigan, Lehman obviously, may go. I'm going to go Harvey Hill and Havard. I think that's where Wigan will go in light of their absentees. Just very, very quickly, because time is beating us. I'm very conscious of the time. Steph, bench, stronger bench. Which one are you going, Wigan or Warrington?
I'm going to go Wigan.
Yeah.
But I think Mago's probably going to have and Lehman are going to have a bigger.
Yeah. Joel?
Yeah, it's just Wigan for me, and I think that's down to Mago.
Massive impact player. Massive impact player. Greg, I think for me, we saw at the weekend, yes, it was a younger Warrington side. I think this year, for teams to beat Wigan, they need to probably be in the grind, probably ahead at 25 minutes. Because when Mago comes on, obviously Dupree as well, no Dupree. So it's going to fall on Harvey Hill or it's going to fall on Havard to come and have that impact moment in the game. Maybe it'll be Thompson. Maybe they'll put Havard on alongside Cooper and have a Thompson and Mago come off at 25 minutes. But what we've seen time and time again this season from Wigan, 25 minutes into the game, the heavy artillery, accompanied by Lehman, comes on and they just put the afterburners on and blow teams away before half-time and just after half-time. It's important that Warrington are right there on 25 before this artillery comes on.
Yeah, that's why I think Matty P might start with Havard at loose and bring Ellis off the bench. I think that he might well do that. I don't know. But yeah, I think that Wigan bench just edges ours. Bullock's not had enough game time. He was superb on Saturday. Played out of his skin. It's a shame Max Wood got injured because he was magnificent.
Yeah.
Max Wood. It's a shame he took a knock and probably won't figure in the final. But Bullock, I think Wigan's bench just edges it if that's the bench. Although I would not be surprised if he goes with Havard at loose and has Ellis on the bench. Maybe Sam Walters on the bench. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, Callum Calver saying, great show again, gents. Thanks for the entertainment. Everyone who isn't a member, join up. It's a no-brainer. Absolutely. Bottom line is, for this to carry on next season, then, I can't keep doing all the time I'm doing, guys. Thank you to everybody who's joined. It makes it all worthwhile. But we need more members, because I'm not going to do it half-hearted. I've got to be able to do the production. I've got to be able to do it right, or else what's the point in doing it? That's the bottom line. So everything that I do is for you. I think there was an old advert there somewhere back in the 80s. But we do.
Song, wasn't it?
I think it was. We do need your support. Right. No paragraph, no sentence, just a statement going around the screen. Joel, who wins and by what score?
Warrington by 1 point in extra time.
Wow. Steph?
Warrington by 1 point in extra time.
Greg?
Don't do this to me, guys. Wigan.
Bye.
A try. In 80 minutes.
Do you know what? We've just gone through all that analysis, and it's took me a long time to get it done. Nicola Burtonwood, she's gone in the chat saying it's going to be a close game, but a wire win for her. Great to have your company, Nick. Joe Dalgreen, another member, he's gone wire by 14. Look, the bottom line is this, folks, right? Rugby League should be a winner. It should be, no matter what. I just thought we'd get a spectacle for the great game of Rugby League in tribute to the great man that was Rob Burrow. I just hope it's tight. My head is saying Wigan. I think Wigan this season could hold all trophies. If they win this on Saturday, they're in possession of every piece of silverware. That's what they're in the possession of. But that said, like I say, my heart says that Warrington have got a chance. They have got a chance. There's no doubt about it. Warrington have got a chance. My head is saying Wigan by about 10. My heart is saying, I'll tell what you've just served up, Joel and Steph, all day long. I might have aged 10 years in that process.
I will be a withered husk.
I don't care what happens, but if Warrington come away from this winning, and what I will say to you, Wigan fans out there, I loved it when Warrington beat St. Helens. This will eclipse it, because 1990 still stings me. I remember that young 12-year-old boy, 11 actually I was at the time, on those terraces watching that game. Never forget what Desi did to Iro. That's all I'll say on that one. But yeah, Mike Gregory's try. And, as an 11-year-old, you always remember as a kid, I saw my son go through it when Hull FC beat Warrington. You always remember as a child, when you go to a final and you lose, it stings. And to this day, 1990 is like a cloud over my head. And maybe, just maybe, the sun will burn through it on Saturday, and it will be glorious sunshine once again. That will be
my kids only know winning at Wembley.
Well, they don't know how lucky they are. That's what my daughter's the same, because she's going to her first Wembley final this coming Saturday, and I can't wait to take her. Look, guys, time has beat us. Absolutely mad. We've done all that analysis. Do you know what? Toss a coin, ladies and gentlemen. But let me tell you now, no matter which preview show you watch, nobody will have given you as much analysis as that. What they might do is take the shortcut and go, toss a coin. But we've had great fun debating it, haven't we? Absolutely outstanding. We will, well, I won't be, but Steph will be. Steph will be back. You don't know it yet. Steph will be back on Sunday for the Final Whistle podcast, because I will not be here this week because I'm going to watch Aladdin with my kids in Manchester. So, Steph, if you want a taxi home from London, you're in the chair, son. So Steph will be hosting. He's hosting the Final Whistle podcast on Sunday. That will be available on Monday. It's a Challenge Cup final special, Final Whistle podcast. All you members, make sure you join Steph and support him for that. We will be back for the Super League Raw Weekly next Tuesday at 8, where we will look back on what hopefully will be a fantastic final and a brilliant tribute to Rob Burrow. And what I'd like to